You don't hold accountability to my pain. You're being a Karen.
I'm talking
You
about.
don't
I'm
hold
talking. I'm not a
accountability
Karen.
to
and
the pain.
I'm not a Karen, and I'm not going to cancel you, and I'm not going to uncensor you. I'm simply going to challenge you on what you're saying. I think you don't understand the pain that you've been causing with some of these comments, and I think that one in particular, I can understand.
Oh my God, God forbid, one comment could cause people to feel any of the pain that my people have went through for years. Even like the blacks being ushered to the left during the civil rights movement. No one is cared about black people.
All right.
No one is.
Let me say, I agree that the racism against black people has been utterly deplorable, shameful, unacceptable, and thank God the world is beginning to move to a better place about the way it has treated black people like you. However, one form of racism doesn't justify.
It's almost in a better place.
Well, one form of racism doesn't justify another.
It's not a better place.
I'm not cutting you off. I'm finishing my sentence so you can respond. One form of racism. It is racism when you say I'm going DEFCON for Jewish people.
I was in a position where I've been hurt, and this is the way I had the right to express myself. The point of this interview is for you to question me, and then for me to answer and say, okay, even though the same rules are not applied to my people, if a person with a gun or drugs is pulled over and has three other people in the car, they're all going to jail. I'm not going to apply that to Jewish people for the sake of this conversation. Isn't that what you wanted? But you know what you did? You tried to civil rights me. You tried to pull me back to a week ago, but we're here today. There's been plenty of conversations and commentary since that, but you want me to go back to 1960.
No.
You want me to go back to 7 days ago.
All right, let me jump in. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to reflect.
Okay, so have we grown? Have we grown?
Here's how we grow.
It's so good to see Piers Morgan finally meet his match. After watching that Andrew Tate interview, yeah, Ye would be the one to be able to cut you off in a goddamn sentence. You understand what I'm saying? Let's proceed.
How we grow. I want you to reflect.
No, have we grown?
Have we grown?
You're not in charge of my growth. You're not in charge of my growth, Chris.
Okay, let me phrase it like this. I'm about to suggest to you how you may grow if you choose to grow this way. And you can ignore me. You can ignore me.
Piers, how much money are you worth?
Not as much as you, sadly.
Exactly. So take my advice. Maybe you'll get richer.
I would love to take your business advice.
Why would I listen to you?
Why do you hear what my advice is and then work out if I'm wrong? Can we do that, deal?
What a dick.
Well, the thing is, you haven't given me any credit or a moment of reflection for the comparison that I made, the brilliant, if I do say so myself, comparison that I made to the cops pulling over one black person and locking everyone up.
I understand what you're saying.
And my tweet having issues. Wait a second, I wasn't done with the sentence. My tweet referring to all Jewish people, I said, for the sake of this conversation, I will refer to the business people who have destroyed me and my people and my fellow creatives. But you didn't even accept that I gave you that. You tried to push me back into 1960.
No, I didn't.
You tried to push me back into last week.
No, I didn't.
Okay, do you accept that example that I gave you?
I understand
Answer the question.
Completely the example you gave me. I think all racism is wrong.
So I feel that we've grown.
I would like you to reflect.
I feel that we've grown.
If
do you feel we've grown?
If you've now changed what you wanted to say originally, my question for you is, do you now regret saying DEFCON 3 on Jewish people? Are you sorry you said that?
No.
I think it matters. You should be.
Absolutely not. You know,
the title of this interview is Kanye West Apologized, but it just seems like he's doubling down. What? Is there an apology?
I will say I'm sorry for the people that are hurt with the DEFCON, the confusion that I call. I feel like I cause hurt and confusion. And I'm sorry for the families of the people that had nothing to do with the trauma that I had been through, and that I use my platform where you say hurt people, and I was hurt.
It's an uncensored interview. You said something which you hadn't said, and you've apologized.
Yeah.
I actually think that says a lot about you, right? That shows you've got that ability to be self-aware, to understand when you cross a line. I think someone like you, with all your energy and creativity and your passion, you're going to say stuff. The way that you talk constantly and in such an extraordinary manner, you're going to trip up. You're going to say things the wrong way. I don't think there's anything wrong in when you do that, doing what you just did and saying, look, I'm sorry, I crossed the line, I apologize.
I want to say that it's wrong to hold an apology hostage, and I got to let go of that and free myself of the trauma and say, look, I'm just going to give it all up to God right now and say to those families that are hurt, I really want to give you guys a big hug. And I want to, I say, I'm sorry for hurting you with my comments. And I want to word it in not in like a political way, but in a presidential way, which means what I knew a president to be when I was growing up.
I absolutely cannot wait for this entire interview to come out. And I think I like the way Kanye was able to slow down Piers and say, do you acknowledge the certain analogies that I am using? Because Piers Morgan definitely has a way to just blow by certain things that you say that are a fantastic point. But just as I've said before, with great power comes great responsibility. And while I don't think that it's anti-Semitic to say DEFCON 3, I do understand that if you have a platform and you say on your platform, time to go DEFCON 3, there's all types of people in the world that would see that as an act of the initiation of war. So as I look at Kanye West's pondering face right here, I think that's finally an acknowledgement of how his words can be interpreted by people that don't understand the context behind the words that he's saying. Now, with all of that being said, I actually uploaded a video none too long ago that Andrew Tate was talking about this concept of they. And I got an incredible amount of comments down into the comment box that was saying, man, how don't you know what they is? Well, I'm gonna play a video right now of an example of not even just who Andrew Tate might have been talking about, but Kanye West as well. Stay.
My industry colleague who had first opened the meeting took the floor again and answered our questions. He told us that since our employees had become silent investors in this prison business, it was now in their interest to make sure that these prisons remain filled. Our job would be to help make this happen by making music which promote criminal behavior, rap being the music of choice. He assured us that this would be a great situation for us because rap music was becoming an increasingly profitable market for our companies, and as employees, we'd also be able to buy stocks in these prisons. Immediately, silence came over the room. You could have heard a pin drop. I remember looking around to make sure I wasn't dreaming and saw half of the people with dropped jaws. My daze was interrupted when someone shouted, "Is this a fucking joke?" They really pulled this off. He was like, they were told not to sign any more political rappers, any more rappers that had messes in their music.
No positivity.
It was all to be gangster rap music that they promoted and put out.
So if you wonder where Brand Nubians went, where Poor Righteous Teachers went, where Public Enemy went, where KRS-One went, and all sorts of groups like that was talking, even Queen Latifah and Moni Love and those, you know what I'm saying? It's a back door.
Yeah, anything that was harmless, fun rap, anything that had a message in it had to go. Meeting, bro.
Now that's a lot for a meeting right there.
Oh yeah, definitely. And this person later on, he said, this person actually ended up leaving the music industry after this happened. A few years after this, he ended up leaving the music industry.
Okay.
And he'd say he just over the years, he just felt guilty because he said as he sat back and he watched these plans come to a reality
over 2 decades.
He sat back and was like, wow, they really pulled it off.
Yeah.
Guys, I was in the middle of editing this video and it occurred to me that this content would get completely stripped and removed from the internet if not giving me a community guideline strike. So I'm going to upload what it is that I was going to show you up on my Patreon. Link down in the description box down below if you're interested.
You don't wanna see me get vexed. Bots on your phone, tell a man you can't jack. The big girl, the ones who can't stretch. Breaking the neck when we in the car next. You don't wanna see me get vexed. Bots on your phone, tell a man you can't jack. The big girl, the ones who can't stretch. Breaking the neck when we in the car next. Dead bars, need defibrillation ASAP. Get boxed with a straight gap. I'm reminded of mind state they lack. Every time that they incline, we go way back. Or they wanna be